Hey, what's up, everybody? Nick here, Michael here. Walk-ins welcome. That's what you're listening to. We're all about helping you grow your medical practice. We want you to get more patients. We want you to deliver better care. We want to help you retain those clients and have repeat visits, and we want to help you scale your clinic. What's up, Michael?
Yeah, and I'm excited because this is part 2 of our pastor series.
That's right. Yeah, our pastor series. So we're going through a series. This is the second of 3 parts, all about your front desk marketing. And, you know, sometimes marketing is very practical, and it's very easy to understand that I'm marketing by asking for a review or asking for a referral or running an ad, or, you know, it's very obvious. But sometimes marketing is passive. Sometimes marketing is just doing the right thing and garnering respect through those processes.
Yeah.
Right. So today we're going to be talking about high stress situations. Navigating high pressure situations. I said high stress, but high pressure situations.
I mean, they kind of go hand in hand. If you feel the pressure, you feel the stress.
Well, so it's been my experience, Michael, that the more pressure I'm under, the more opportunity I have to shine, but also the more mistakes that I'm capable of making.
Well, and I think too, I think there are certain mindsets that benefit from pressure.
Right.
Like they perform at their peak under pressure.
Right.
But now I'm rethinking my statement of pressure and stress is the same thing. They're really not. Pressure is an opportunity to succeed. Stress means you've already lost, and now you're under stress.
There's definitely a situation where like you're crawling out of a hole, and we're going to talk about some of that today, because high pressure and then stress that ensues from high pressure situations is a great opportunity. Like I said, you have an opportunity to shine and build that patient for life, or you have an opportunity to get that 1-star review that's coming soon after they leave.
Yeah, and that is so real. And we have some clients that they must be under high pressure.
Right.
We have some that just reviews are a thing.
Oh, it's a real thing. But kicking us right out is like, help me identify a few high stress, high pressure situations right out of the gate. I'll start. A freaking pandemic. That's a high stress, high pressure.
That was just
situation.
a high volume situation, right? Like
exactly.
there was no. We were actually had a meeting with one of our local urgent cares that we worked with, and he was talking about,
shout out to Dr. Junkins.
Yeah, Dr. Junkins. He's been on this podcast. So he was talking about back in the COVID days, he had to move hours from shutting down at 10 p.m. at night to 8 p.m. because there was so thick with patients. His people wouldn't get home till midnight, and then they're right back at it again by 7 in the morning. And he's like, it wasn't the way to live, and so like he had to recognize that and make adjustments. So sometimes, these high pressure situations can be, it's the result of the environment that we're in, and other times it's just a result of bad process. And then you just let it happen.
Right.
That I've seen that before.
Well, so that's another one though. Like, let's talk about that. We just talked about like a major pandemic that we may or may not see again in our lifetime, right?
I hope not.
I hope not too.
Us millennials, we've seen too much.
I feel like Bill Gates is planning the next one though. If you ever listen to a talk,
like we were in middle school, high school for 9/11.
Yeah.
We were graduating, going to college in 2008. Then the pandemic happened. It's just like every 10 years, something's going on. And so
you didn't get the benefit and pleasure of living in the 80s and 90s. Like,
no, we hear about this wonderful music that's now 40 years old.
That's crazy. Like, we enjoyed it. All right. So you just brought up a good thought. We talked about, kind of a peak, like, event that caused all kinds of pressure, right?
That you really can't control.
But you just simplified something though that a lot of clinics don't have in place, and that's processes and procedures, or at least they're not readily available to their team.
Yeah.
Right. So that can cause a high stress situation. Not having a process or a procedure in something.
Not knowing what to do.
And we had a good conversation. It's going to come out on one of our podcasts. I wish I could
probably
tell you which
come
one.
after this one, I think.
Yeah, it could be. So stay tuned. But we talked with our good friend Jonathan, who is an AI expert by all accounts.
Yep.
And he talked about, training ChatGPT, who everybody listening to this most likely knows what that is at this point, but training ChatGPT, like feeding it all this information about your clinic, right? And letting it just on demand have an answer for you. Like, what is our procedure for a frustrated patient? Boom, here's our procedure for that.
Yeah, and so and this is how it is with any type of data, and that's one of the beauties of AI is you can have all the data in the world. You can have all these procedures written down somewhere. But if they're not easily accessed or easily like observed, you won't use them, or you won't make a good decision because you don't have the data in front of you. So, and that's the thing too. You think about your clinic. Think about how you train your front desk.
Mm-hmm.
How often do you retrain? How often do you actually like say, "Hey, let's take a situation and let's talk about it"? Did you train them the first month and then they just went off to the races and said bye? You know, like I got this mentality. Mm-hmm. And then 6-9 months later, we have a nice little pop up of a high pressure situation, and the person forgot their training or just did not do what you would hope they would do.
Right.
I used to work at a bank a long time ago, and so like we went through all the what to do during a robbery, and it's very fascinating what you do. But at the end of the day, like the mindset was get the robber out of the bank. Don't lock them in there with you, right? So that's a high pressure situation, and the key is being calm. Like at the end of the day, being calm and falling back on what you know is supposed to work. Because and it's what we all know, if you're able to make a decision about something without the stress of the situation upon you, it makes more sense. But when you're making a decision as a reaction to that stress, chances are it wasn't the best decision. It was a decision, but not necessarily the best one.
So I'm going to have a lot of pilot stories today.
Oh,
I'm going to prepare you right out of the gate.
Because that's life and death.
Yeah.
Within like seconds.
I'm going to prepare you right out of the gate that I'm going to have pilot stories today. And it's very relevant to stressful situations.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we just put a new engine in the plane, and it's a unique engine type for our plane.
Yeah.
And I'm up at 5,000 feet testing the engine for the first time, and we have an engine out failure.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring that up is for what you just said. All of my training kicked in, and I was calm. Now my passenger wasn't, like my safety pilot wasn't.
I was not the passenger.
No. I had like one of the co-owners of the plane was my passenger as a safety pilot. He wasn't near as calm as I was, but I was the pilot in command, right? And I can't even really explain to you the level of stress that came along with that, right? Yeah. And I didn't even feel that stress until after all the event was over. But the point is all of my training kicked in, and I landed safely with no issues at all. It's one of my best landings.
And then when you land, you go, okay.
I got out of the plane and almost threw up. To be honest with you, like literally couldn't talk, and then walked all the way down the taxiway by myself just to like collect myself. Right?
Like, okay.
But none of that happened in the moment.
No.
All of my training kicked in for that. So anyway, having SOPs in the back of your mind, trained consistently. I'm constantly training myself, right?
Well,
your clinic should be doing the same thing.
Well, and the doctors, you guys have to have what's it called? The education, continuing education,
right?
Always going on. Same thing with your staff. Like you should re-educate them on high pressure situations, how to handle them, because the whole point of training is giving the person the right tools and resources so when the moment comes, not if, but when it comes, they do what they're supposed to do, and it diffuses the situation very, very quickly. Because, like Nick, if you've been a pilot for like 20 years but you never like refreshed on your training, you just kind of kept the license type of thing. When that popped up, some of your procedures have been gone because you didn't rework them in your mind a little bit.
Right.
So
no doubt.
I mean, like I said, life and death with a plane, right? Because you're 30 to 60 seconds away from a really bad day if you didn't react to it properly.
So again, more pilot, right? But I want you to think about, like, I immediately went to my ABC checklist, or my ABC mentality for an emergency landing. A, airspeed. B, best place to land. C, checklist. D, declare emergency. E, emergency land. I've already learned it.
Yeah.
Right? And it was now time in a stressful situation to apply that. So again, I'm going to stop talking about that for just a second.
Well, I like the ABCs of high pressure for medical, right?
Well, what are they?
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. Like for your clinic, there should be a system in place. Like I can tell you, I'm not going to now, but I can tell you the 4 C's of account management at our company, right? Yeah. So I can tell you what those are, and our client success managers should know what they are so that they can communicate effectively to our clients, basically in any kind of situation.
Yeah.
Right. So High pressure situations, obviously pandemic, or let's just talk about it, seasonality. There are peak seasons, right? There are SOPs in your business that you need to know for situations of patients coming in, right? So SOPs, standard operating procedures. What are some other stressful situations? Billing can be a stressful situation when you did it wrong and the client's pissed at you.
Yeah, I mean, or just any type of, honestly, because when people are coming into an urgent care, any medical, there's usually something wrong. Like they're sick, or their child's sick, or their spouse is sick, or whatever. And so they're already kind of stressed.
Right.
And then if you present something to them they were not expecting, be it a bill they weren't expecting or you ran their Blue Cross and it came back denied because it's old and they didn't renew it, because that happens. You got to be prepared for that. And here's the thing. If you try to match the energy of the person, you're going to lose every time.
No doubt.
You have to be the lead energy in terms of staying calm and complacent, because the reality is if you can't control a situation and you let the customer control the situation, the customer is going to lose too, not win, but they will also lose,
right?
Because it's going to end badly. And at the end of the day, it's going to hurt you, the person that's doing the job. It's going to hurt you, because now you're in a situation where you didn't do what you're supposed to and you reacted. I mean, we've had clients like dealt with that before, right? Like we've had previous employees that matched the energy of a client or went away on the high side, and we're like, hey, you need to chill out. Go home.
Right.
Come back the next day.
That's right.
And that's just real. Like, that's a real thing. We're all dealing with life. I mean, right now, inflation's a big deal. A lot of conversations around that. And so there's extra stress there. And so it's hard to stay calm with everyday life going on, but you have a job to do and you have an opportunity to do what you're supposed to. So just remember that, like that person up front is influencing what's happening. We're talking about how, we talk about marketing all day, but like if they screw up, it doesn't matter how good we are. They ruin that person's day.
Well, and we also want, you to be able to provide amazing patient experience. So understanding how you respond to stress is a key. Like for me, I shut down a little bit during stress. Or, if I'm well trained, I'm dialed in. But if I'm not well trained, then I shut down, right? Mm-hmm. Some people get angry. Some people just bury their head and get after it, right? Like, I'm just going to go fix a problem. That's going to deal with the stress. Some people get high blood pressure because of stress. Anyway, understanding how you react to stress. We're 12 minutes in and we haven't moved on to our next point yet.
Sorry.
So we're going to do that. All right. So the next thing that I want to talk about is time management and efficiency. Okay. So this breaks down into prioritizing tasks, streamlining your workflows, and leveraging technology that's available to you. This is especially important into a high pressure situation, right?
Yeah.
So imagine being a front desk person who's responsible for checking people in. Maybe they're responsible for taking all that information and inputting it into their system, making sure that everybody in the back, the nurses and everybody, are notified that you're even here, right? Making sure that all of their charts are pulled up and their files are pulled up if you're on paper, but having everything pulled up and making sure that it's ready for the doctor. You have all of these things going on, and it just immediately reminds me of task saturation.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I have a story. And this has just been, I'm very fascinated by this because we're in 2024. Why am I still doing paperwork? Why is it not being done on my phone or inside a portal? And this is where it gets better. So I had to go to a specialist 3 weeks ago. They said, hey, we're going to mail you your paperwork. I'm like, okay.
That's weird.
Never got it, by the way. And
so your paperwork's out there floating around.
Well, and thankfully it's all blank. But never got the paperwork. But I got an email from their portal that said, hey, go ahead and do an e-check-in to fill out all this stuff. I'm like, okay. So I fill it all out the night before my appointment, because my appointment was the first thing like 8 o'clock next morning. I get to the place. Obviously, I've learned this now. If you set 8 a.m. appointments, you get the real flavor of the office because you're the first one there and they're not ready for you.
No,
and it is hilarious because every time I've done it now, they're always, so-and-so's not here yet. I don't know how to do her job, but I'll try. Like literally that's the conversation I've had a couple of times.
Somebody's running late. They're dropping their kids off. Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know where they are, that type of thing. Anyway, so I do the e-check-in, do all the stuff. I go to the doctor next day, and this is the situation. The check-in lady wasn't there yet. So the billing lady was there. And she's like, I don't do check-in, but I do billing. What's your name? Okay, I see you in here. I need you to fill out all this stuff. I said, well, I filled out a bunch of stuff online. She said, I don't see that. I don't think we actually use that. I was like, where did my crap go?
It went to somebody.
It went to some portal somewhere. And then she hands me, and she hits print, and she hands me, it's like 15-page intake. I'm like, oh my God. Like, and I was going through checking, and about half of it I did through the e-check-in, and the other half I'd never seen before. So, like, there's a huge disconnect because it could have been, hey, I got your paperwork good to go. It's been passed to your doctor. We'll get you in just a minute. Like, that's how it should have gone.
Right.
Because I give them my insurance. I give them everything. Like, there's no reason for me to do this other than let me give you my driver's license to prove who I am. It's just amazing because she had no idea. She's like, I don't know where this stuff is. Mm-hmm. And no one even, and that she handed that clipboard like that's a standard thing for them. So I'm like, what's going on? So efficiency, because she was stressed because that was not her job at that moment. And she was trying to answer a phone call, talk to me. Somebody had an actual billing question she was trying to adjust for. That person, the other person hadn't shown up yet. A little bit of pressure. I didn't really care, but I was just fascinated by it because, like, my part could have been very simple, but it became difficult. And then she accidentally hit print like 3 times. And so that printer was stacking with paper. It was about 60 pages in a print. I was like, what is this crap?
So then that brings us to prioritizing tasks, right? Mm-hmm. What is the priority in everything that you just said?
In terms of, like,
I don't know. You just said a whole lot of stuff. What was the priority? Like, if we're going to take everything that you just said, what should they have prioritized as far as their tasks go?
So I think, my opinion, the person standing in front of you.
Okay, I agree. You're patient.
The person in front of you. Next is the phone call. And now, this is where you should probably have a system in place where it goes into a hold mode for you.
Sure.
So you can pick it up and not just infinite ringing. Because infinite ringing is just discouraging. Then it goes to, after that, any paperwork that needs to be supplied. Because what she could have said was, hang on, I'm going to get your paperwork printed. I'll call you back up in just a minute.
Right.
That could have been, but she didn't. I just stood there. And she's just sitting there scrambling. And then I watched the printer fill with paper. I'm like, I was looking at that. I hope that's not my paperwork. And she just took a handful and stuck it on a clipboard and gave it to me. I was like, well, I hope it's all the same. Like, I hope it's not like a repeat of itself. And it wasn't. I'll give her credit for that. But no, it was just unnecessary. Like, and the other person finally showed up, and so she disappeared. But the other person didn't do anything. So
right.
It's just.
Well, all back to everything that you just said is there was no priority to the task at hand. No. Like, I've got a patient here. I'm trying to answer a phone. I'm trying to enter in some kind of billing thing. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to do it all at once, and it just falls apart, especially when you're missing a person, right? Because there's no prioritization. Streamlining the workflows. I know I'm going to do everything I can to get my patient served first. Then there should be time set aside to bill. Yeah. That's time set aside. You can time block in an urgent care. You can time block in a clinic. All right. And then making sure that you have some kind of system in place for those phone calls. Again, that's a patient on the other end of that phone. That's going to get a priority over a billing issue. I know you want to get paid. And if you prioritize this properly, all of that is going to get taken care of. Again, all back to marketing through your front desk by being organized and having everything in place. Very quick. I'm in my instrument rating, right? More airplane stories. One of the things that I was doing while flying the plane is my instructor was pushing me through task saturation.
Oh yeah.
Yep. To the
What's
point,
your name?
Yeah, to where he asks you your name. Like, he's put so many tasks on you that when he says, okay, what's your name? And you look at him like, what? Right? You can't even say your own name. That's how many tasks they put you through.
And all I can imagine is a SpongeBob episode. We threw out his name.
That's funny. So that, again, I failed that, but I learned something. Aviate, navigate, communicate.
Aviate, navigate, communicate.
There is a system in place for me to be able to manage my task saturation. Do you have one at your clinic? I have to fly the plane first. Right? Mm-hmm. I need to make sure that I have all of my instruments in front of me and I have the plane under control. Once I have the plane under control, then I can start worrying about where I'm going. Right? Once I know where I'm going, then I can communicate to everybody who's trying to communicate to me through the microphones or people on the plane. I have an order of importance for my tasks. Aviate, navigate, communicate. Now, what is it for yours? Patient first. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm going to start with that, right? And so then I'll ask you the next question. Is billing the next thing you should be paying attention to? I have no idea.
So in my head, I just came up with patient, communicate, paperwork.
There you go.
So the PCP of prioritization for your front desk.
I love it.
Talk to your patient, communicate accordingly, then do the paperwork.
Communicate to your team, paperwork left. And paperwork could mean a multitude of things. That could be data entry that the doctor needs. That could be coding for billing. That could be a number of different things. But the point I'm trying to say is, like, from a marketing perspective, you got to put your patient first. That's what they're going to remember.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like, and we've said this before, a patient or like myself, we're way more chill if you communicate with us what's going on, and we're not just sitting. Because like I showed up at that place at 7:50, 7:45, and door was open, so go in, and I signed my little name, whatever, and they called me up and went through this whole mess. I didn't see the doctor until like at an 8 o'clock appointment. Remember, I didn't see the doctor till 8:40. 20 minutes of that was filling out paperwork and waiting.
That you had already filled out.
Yeah. And so then when I saw it, like, because I thought, because I shoot for the early mornings because usually I'm the first one and I can get in and out pretty quick. That's what happened to my MRI. It was super fast. But I didn't leave until 10.
Right.
And spent time with doctor, 15 minutes. I mean, he was great, and it was. I learned a lot, but
it reminds me of cooking. I'll spend like an hour cooking food, and everybody will have devoured it in like 8 minutes.
Oh yeah, that's so true. Like, and then
I'll spend just as much time cleaning up afterwards.
Just don't do what my dad does. It says if I can eat it, if it takes me longer to cook it than eat it, I don't want it. I'm like, well, that's microwave only.
You would have never survived in the 1800s, right, or before. Well, let's go right back to that for just a minute. Like prioritizing your task, streamlining your workflows. If you have processes in place for you to do that, hey, and you like maybe you have an employee over here or a team member that you immediately hand their information over to, and they do that data entry so that you can focus on your patient. I know that's hard to do when it's just one of you, but it's very rare where I walk into any medical facility and there's not two people sitting there, having a plan for that. And then you have all this technology in place. Utilize it. Put Solve in place where they can go in. Put Clockwise in place where they can have their EMR or Athena, where they can go online and give you all of that information before they ever walk through the door. That's leveraging technology.
Yeah.
Follow up as well. Text messages, review requests, like leverage that. A QR code at your front desk to ask for a review is so much easier than you having them pull out their phone.
And we have something fancy we're going to be bringing to the UCA for reviews too.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, for the UCA people out there, come by our booth.
Yeah,
we have something very fancy that we've purchased. We didn't come up with it, but it will greatly increase your review opportunities.
Right.
Anyway, so that does remind me about the utilizing your systems, because the weird part was when I got to the nurse practitioner to do like my intake inside the little doctor's room, she had questions about stuff from my previous visits with my primary care that I did not fill out. Mm-hmm. And she said, well, what about this, this, and this? Like, oh, yeah, I don't know. So she had access to my stuff. I'm like, what am I doing here?
What is happening right
now? So to me, that's that classic two systems aren't talking. And sometimes it's two people not talking. And one's doing an old way and the other one's doing a new way. I bet that happens a lot.
Oh, I'm positive of it. All right, moving on to our next segment. We're going to talk about dealing with upset patients. Again, I know you're trying to make the connection to marketing right now, but how you handle negative situations. I've had negative situations that have been spun around and turned me into a great customer long term. Okay.
Honestly, we did that recently with a customer.
Yeah, go for it. Tell the story.
So we have a customer right now. He just upgraded yesterday to lots of things, which is cool. Talking about Jared.
Oh, okay, cool. I don't know what you're talking about right now, but go for it.
No, so
I'm excited about this story. Tell me more.
Who is this?
Yeah, who are we talking about?
No, we have a client, not medical, by the way, but we had goofed up basically how a lead got into his system. Didn't catch it for like a couple of days.
Poor training on my part.
Yeah,
but I fixed it.
It's all good. Everything's good, but it was negative, right? Like he lost potential money. He was a little upset with us. We were still pretty new with him. We're like, not good. We worked some things out with him. And then yesterday he upgraded. He brought all his companies to us and we're doing everything we can with him.
Yeah.
And he loves us. And
Yep.
so that could have been you're fired to double my money with you.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that story. I don't even mind going into the details. We were doing lead generation and we forgot to connect it to his system so that he got notifications of these leads. And 30 days went by of leads generated for him that he never communicated with, and it is our fault, right? The first thing I did is I owned it. I didn't make an excuse. I didn't blame it on the employee who actually had dropped the ball there. Again, due to poor training on my part, right? I'm owning it, right? I let him know, hey, what do I need to do to make this right? And he told me, and I did it because it was within reason of something that I could do, right? And then now we've built that trust over, I don't know, 3 to 6 months now.
Not even that long.
Right. So building trust, showing our work, showing what we do.
Sending him a toy.
Sending him a toy didn't help it, or didn't hurt either. But you're right. And then Grace, I'll just say Grace had managed to be able to turn that round into like a raving fan.
Oh, yeah.
He loves working with us. We love working with him.
He loves working with Grace. Like,
That's right.
It's been a good thing, but that's the reality of it. Like, you can never look at a bad situation as a negative situation. There's opportunities inside of the situation. Right. Either you learn from it, you gain from it, but you never just say, well, that was crap, and then you move on. Because if you don't learn from it, and it may be a very, very tiny lesson, but every lesson adds up over time.
Right.
Because if you look at where we were 4 years ago to today, a lot of lessons learned.
Right.
And there are a lot of standards we have now in place. And I know that could be the same for your medical office, because what you were doing the first month you were open versus the 5th year that you're open, it's a whole lot different.
So let's talk about some situations that would make patients upset. I'll just come out with one. I know you can talk about billing in just a second, but I remember going to the emergency room one time, and we were sitting there for a long, long time, right?
Yeah.
And we kept seeing people come in and go straight back.
Oh, that's the worst.
Right? You see it. You're like, what the crap, man? I've been sitting here for like 5 hours.
This isn't a restaurant with reservations.
Right? Exactly. And we can talk about that analogy as well. They took the time to make a reservation online, save your spot online, because you're using Solve Health or some technology, right? Okay, that's another story. Anyway, shameless plug there. Point I'm trying to make, though, is like that front desk person took the time to come out, me with my sick kid, and let me know. They said, hey, I know you see these people coming back. I know you see that, and I know it's frustrating. Those people are very, very sick and need immediate attention. And yours, I know it sucks, and I know you don't feel good, and I know it hurts. But these people, like, it's life or death for them, and it's just not the same level of urgency that we have there. And I know it's frustrating, but I wanted you to know that I'm acknowledging that you're seeing this. I'm acknowledging that it's happening. Just the fact that they came out and communicated with me eased the tension that I was feeling.
Yeah.
Right.
And it all, my goodness, if we could sum up this episode, please communicate.
Yeah.
Period. Like, just communicate.
Give you another quick example. We were at a restaurant one time, totally different situation, but we were sitting there and we had ordered first, and we're watching all the people around us get their food. And finally,
that's the worst.
After about 45 minutes, the server came by embarrassed and said, I forgot to plug your order in.
Hope he comped it.
He did.
Yeah.
He comped it. He apologized. He owned it. And we went from being frustrated to totally fine because they did right by us.
I've had that happen a few times where you watch the food go by and then you're like, all right, it's been 30 minutes since I ordered. And then they had the oh crap moment on their face. And then you have a free dinner, which I don't mind, right? I don't mind paying for getting a free dinner because I sat for 30 extra minutes.
Right.
But the worst would be, I'll get your order in right now and you still get a bill.
Yeah.
Not coming back after that.
No effort to make it right. So let's take it to a clinic. They didn't hit your insurance like they were supposed to.
Oh gosh. Or
go with
they,
that for a second.
They didn't hit your insurance like they're supposed to, or they completely coded it wrong, or they ignored your secondary,
or they made it feel like it was your fault.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And this is so because the reality, like I've been learning because like we have secondary here, and that kind of throws people off sometimes. Mm-hmm. Oh, you have more insurance? Like, yeah. And I had one experience where like they just completely ignored it or just put in a bunch of random numbers. And so I call him and I was like, no, it's supposed to be this, da, 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 da. And then, oh, okay. So then it wakes another 3 months to process, whatever.
Right.
But no, like just at the end of the day, there's so many things that are happening from an information standpoint. It's so easy to make a mistake, and you need to communicate and just own it. If you just own it half the time, just say like, we kind of screwed up, but we fixed it for you.
I've had more positive experiences after owning my mistakes. I know we're going a little long, but I'll give another story. I was driving with my family too fast. I got pulled over.
Oh, yeah.
I got pulled over. This was some holiday. We were at the river, right? I was in an unfamiliar area. I was on a straight highway that should not have been marked 30 miles an hour. It should have been marked 55 miles an hour, which is how fast I was going. Mm-hmm. It's a 4-lane freaking highway.
That's where I am right now near my house.
Anyway.
It's 4-lane and it's 35, and
what?
a cop sits there.
Yeah. I'm like, this is stupid. It's 4-lane. Anyway, I'm gonna get off of that for a second. I'm gonna get off. Feels like a trap, but whatever.
It's a tryout.
Anyway, there's not a car in sight. I get pulled over, and I knew I was speeding. I knew it. And the cop pulled me over, and he goes, "Do you know how fast you're going?" I was like, "I know exactly how fast I was going. I was going 55 and a 30. I totally botched it. I'm sorry." And then to make matters even worse, I had forgotten that I wasn't in my car. I was in my dad's, so I didn't have my insurance with me.
Even better.
Yeah. And so anyway, to make a short story long, too late, right, is, I owned it. I didn't make excuses. I didn't get mad at the officer. I just said, "Look, this is my fault. Just let me know what you need from me. It's my mistake." He goes, "You know what? It's a holiday weekend. Thank you for not making a scene about this. Please slow down. Y'all have a good time. By the way, let your dad drive since he has his license and his insurance with him." We switched seats and the officer let us go. And all of that from just now, I'm not going to say it's going to work every single time.
There's a greater chance.
I had no shot if I said, "What is your problem?"
I wasn't speeding.
You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean?
Did you know I've 69?
Show me your radar. Show me your radar. That's a quick way.
I get so many TikToks of these motorcycle people arguing with cops. I'm like, you screwed up. You know that.
Yeah.
You're just cutting the video to make the cop look bad.
I know. So anyway, all that to just say, like, I own the problem, and because I own the problem, if I know it's my fault, I'm not saying own every problem, especially if it's not yours. I don't think the customer's always right. I don't believe that. I don't subscribe to it. All right. But when it is my fault, I own it. All right. Let's keep going. Let's wrap up. Best practices for high pressure.
I thought you said Bass Pro Shop.
I did. I said Bass Pro Shop. Best practices for high pressure situations. 2 of them, man. 1, tell lots of stories. I've done that today. Too many. Right?
Yeah.
Tell stories. Talk about that patient that came in and that you messed up. And that, like, you messed up even the situation. This is why we got a 1-star review. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, this patient came in. They were clearly pissed off about what we did. We didn't own it. We didn't do it right. From now on, we're going to fix that.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to, like, they're not wrong. Like,
right. You billed the wrong insurance. That's your fault, not theirs.
Dr. A, you were a butthole that day.
Yeah, seriously.
Like, you need to learn. Man,
we don't have a Dr. A with us.
I don't know. We don't have a Dr. A.
Okay,
Dr. A, Dr. B, Dr. X.
All right. Let's make sure.
No, like, I mean, because that's something that we've talked about. I wish there was extensive training on bedside manners for doctors, because there are some doctors, they are wonderful at what they do, but they're a cringe to talk to. And we even had that with Courtney when she had something going on. The anesthesiologist was so not bedside manner friendly. Like, you could see him physically get frustrated with Courtney's question, and then he just left. Mm-hmm. Like, we said this, okay, and just walks away, and then a new one showed up. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to get billed for him anyway because he walked in a stupid room. And so,
yeah, that's how it goes.
It just amazes. Like, doctors, you're people. You have stress. I get it. We're people too. You're patients. And at the end of the day, if you didn't have any patients, you wouldn't have a practice. So be nice to your patients. Right. When we look at all the negative reviews, it's like there's 3 options. Really terrible front desk person, really terrible doctor, or the communication was just way off, or / the diagnosis was not what they wanted.
Or sometimes it was just a really terrible patient. And let's add
Yeah,
that in there
that's
too, because
true.
we know that some people just suck. They're looking to sue you.
They're looking for drugs to
Yeah.
get, because
We know.
we get that. Because I was reading some of the negative reviews on one of our clients, and it was straight up like, okay, no, that patient was a drug addict and they were looking for something. You weren't going to give it to them because you recognized that and you got them out quick. And so like they're going to put out bad reviews. And if you're ever curious, like you want to question, if you question yourself, you're like, I think we did everything right. Here's a little quick tip. Go to that review, click on that profile, and you can see all the other reviews they give. And there are some people that are just out there to terrorize people.
Right.
So just, if you get a really nasty review, you're like, there's no way that was us. And you go check their stuff, you're like, oh, they just hate everybody. And so sometimes you need to train that way too, where you say, hey, I saw this come up, but I recognize it. Because that's the other thing, because the last thing you don't want to do is that if you become an owner that automatically blames your team for everything and doesn't like look at the whole situation. Because there are times here, like we screwed up as a team. There are other times the customer really screwed up and there's no way we're going to fix that for them. So and we have to always recognize that there's a bigger picture. There's not just one side. You got to look at both sides.
Well, guys, just to recap, it's been a heck of an episode. We've gone a little long, but I think it was worth it, right? So understand, identify what those high pressure situations are in your clinic, okay? Figure out your time management and your efficiency. Put in those acronyms that we talked about, right? So ABCDs of urgent care.
Patient, communicate, and paperwork.
Patient first, communicate next, paperwork last, okay? I love that. And you know what? If you have your own, write into us and let us know what they are, and we'll talk about it.
And it's PCP, which people can think primary care physician or patient, communicate, paperwork.
There you go. All of that. So time management, dealing with the upset patients, right? Have a plan for that. And you have a plan by telling lots of stories of here's what we've done in the past, here's where we've messed up, here's where we've done it right. And then have training and preparedness. Make sure that your team has a plan in place that they can fall back on. Make sure that training is in place that they can fall back on so that when the pressure is high and the stakes are high and the frustrations are high, the training kicks right in and you don't even have to make a decision. It's already made for you. Cool. Take us out, Michael.
All right, guys. Thank you all again for listening to this. This is part 2 of 3, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we'll have a final episode related to this pastor series I call related to the front desk. We're excited to have for it. And also coming up, we'll be at the UCA in April 2024 in Vegas. If you're part of the UCA, come visit us. Love to talk to you. We'll be having some giveaways and stuff like that. So it is coming up in about a month or so. So excited for that coming. And then if you got any questions, hello@patientcaremarketingpros.com. Please send us your high pressure situations that you resolved or you didn't know how to. Love to bring those to the podcast and kind of showcase like this is what people are up to. So we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Have a great week. See you next week.